And now, Move the Sticks with Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks.
What's up, everybody? DJ Bucky back with Move the Sticks. And Bucky, just a little over a week out to the draft. We have got a jam-packed show today, but I thought, as former scouts, let's get in the Wayback Machine a little bit and think back to what we were doing at this, 9-10 days out from the draft, what we would be doing at this point in time. Because I know for sure I was chasing ghosts. And I'm talking about players like, wait, you heard who? He worked out where? I never heard of this guy.
Never heard of it. We're all chasing ghosts. The workout wonders from the pro day circuit, guys that you either have rejected during the fall that worked out well, worked out better than anticipated. You're now being asked by your college director or your general manager, who is this guy? We're hearing buzz on him. And ultimately, it ends up being an exercise in wasted time because if you like the player, you would have talked about him in the fall. And I believe at this point, with social media and everything, there are no surprises.
No.
There aren't any guys that you can't find. Everyone is talked about.
I can remember, though, back in the day, you used to always want to know the computer guys because they printed out the draft cards.
Yes.
So it would be late in the process. It'd be like, I don't know, this guy, he maybe get picked. I gave him a free agent, or I killed him, right? So if you go into a player, you reject a guy, you don't have to write him. But then all of a sudden, some buzz starts building. You're like, "Oh man, this guy gets picked."
I should write him.
We don't have a card. I haven't written a report, so it's like, bang out a report like draft. You go to the computer guy, knock on there, like, "Hey, can you just print up one of those cards?" You don't no need to say nothing, but just print out one of those cards. Just sneak it right on the bottom of that list there. We'll be all right. We'll be good. But it is you're chasing ghosts and kind of trying to figure out if.
And how bad is that feeling when someone does get picked off the back?
Oh, it's the worst. Yeah, but then 9 times out of 10 they end up not working out. You're like, I had them right anyways.
Yeah.
All right, Bucky, let's tell everybody what we've got coming up on today's episode because it is jam-packed.
I mean, we have so much stuff on here. I'm looking at the little rundown. We have the Titans-Rams trade fallout.
Yep.
We're going to talk about our favorite players by round, which should be a fun exercise. My latest mock draft just hit the web today. And then Red Star Prospect of the Week, we're going to look at cornerback.
All right, let's not waste any more time. The big trade that shook everything up here in the draft. The Rams go all the way from 15 all the way up to number 1, Bucky. First of all, were you shocked when this happened?
I am shocked. I'm going to say I'm shocked because I didn't think the Rams could get in range. Coming from 15 to number 1, I just thought it would be so much capital to give up. And there when you look at the terms of what the Titans received, a 1, 2 2s, a 3, a 1 and a 3 in 2017.
It's a good haul.
I mean, that is a nice haul. So if you're John Robinson and the Titans staff, you feel good about building up the rest of your team. And if you're the Rams, you must feel good about whoever's going to be, we're anticipating the face of the franchise going forward at the quarterback position.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're all in on these quarterbacks. We'll get down in just a second to which one we think they should take versus which one we think they will take. But when you look at the Rams and what they have left, they got 5 picks remaining. They did get a couple picks back in the deal. We just showed they're on the board. So can the Rams accomplish what they need to in this draft for them to be in the postseason next year?
I mean, the quarterback has to play well. It's all dependent upon the quarterback. I don't know how you guys did it at other places, but the way I look at the draft, I only count on the top 3 picks to be guys that can contribute pretty early. 4th, 5th, and 6th round picks, to me, are your backups, your special teamers. You may or may not even have those guys make the team. And so they have a lot of 4th and 6th rounders, but how many of those guys can emerge as vital playmakers and vital contributors? I don't know. They have to do a great job of drafting and selecting undervalued guys that happen to outplay their draft performance.
Yeah, you see the picks that they have remaining here. So they got a couple 4s, a couple 6s. So it's not just like the Ricky Williams trade, right? We just get 1 pick and that's it. And there are some positions that are deep, and you'll get some quality there, especially those 2 4th-round picks. But the quarterback that comes in, I mean, I know what you have on the roster there. I would think maybe Case Keenum is somebody that can get you through the first 3-4 games. I don't think it's going to be much longer than that. Kind of like Bortles, right? Bortles is going to redshirt. He's going to miss the whole season, except that a couple games in, he's in the lineup.
It didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Case Keenum is what he is. We've talked about Case Keenum. Maybe he can be a stopgap player. Maybe he can be better than a stopgap player based on what they've thought about him. They gave him a first-round tender. He signed that tender so he's able to go off-season program, OTAs, and kind of continue to put his grips on the starting job. But make no mistake, the number 1 overall pick, the quarterback that they select, is eventually going to take the football from the quarterback, and he's going to be the guy that ultimately determines whether the Rams get into the postseason or not this year.
All right, before we get into the Titans side of this, because I do think that the Titans aspect of this is even more interesting than the Rams. But before we leave the Rams, you got to go on record here. I know we did our show, it was like hashtag Goff versus Wentz or hashtag Wentz versus hashtag Goff. I don't know.
Yeah.
There was a lot of hashtags, and there was a couple quarterbacks.
Yeah, a couple quarterbacks, a lot of hashtags
mixed in there. And I hate it during this time of year because it's like if you like one player, you automatically hate the other. No. I've got Carson Wentz, I believe, is my 7th player. Goff is my 8th player. So I gave him the same grade. I see him in the same light there. But I do think personally I like Wentz better overall. And I even think for the Rams, I think Wentz is a better fit for the Rams. Everything's pointing towards Goff. All the information guys that are totally dialed in, and that's what they do for a living, are saying it's going to be Goff. And I believe them. But I think it's a better fit with Wentz. What say you?
I go back and forth. Goff is my 5th rated player. Wentz is my 10th rated player. The grades are comparable. They're almost sitting on the same line. Wentz is a big body playmaker, a guy that we've compared to big body playmakers like Blake Bortles, Ben Roethlisberger. I even talked about him being able to do some of the things that Cam Newton has been able to do for the Carolina Panthers. He's a really talented player. I think the big thing that you have to overcome is the stigma of being a small school guy and the lack of experience in terms of the reps throwing the ball in a year and a half of starts because he missed most of the year with an injury. In Jared Goff, you get a more experienced player, a guy who started 37 games, has thrown over 1,500 passes, a guy to me is the best quick rhythm passer, the guy who throws with anticipation and timing that we've seen in this draft. However, he doesn't have the big arm. I think he has a B-plus arm. And there are some concerns about transitioning from a spread to a pro-style offense. However, to me, he is the guy that I would trot out as the franchise quarterback because I believe his skills translate very, very well to the National Football League. And I think it's easy to see this guy having success earlier or sooner than Carson Wentz, even though Carson Wentz may have more talent.
I think even just some of the simple things of even just regurgitating the play is going to be an adjustment there for Goff coming into the league. I think with Carson Wentz, don't overplay it here. Just being in a huddle, calling plays, changing protection at the line of scrimmage, setting their run game. These are all things he's going to be asked to do at the next level. He's got experience doing them, and I think he's going to be way ahead of the curve in terms of comparing him with Jared Goff in this instance. So I don't really buy. I know it's kind of get thrown out there. Well, one guy's a Division I guy and one's a 1AA guy, so he's got a way bigger adjustment to make. I don't know that's necessarily the truth.
I mean, I really don't know if that's necessarily the case. And I think you can argue. My preference in this debate, and I said that both guys carry pretty much the same grade for me. I have Goff over Wentz, and a lot of it is just due to the timing and anticipation that I saw when I watched the tape. In Wentz, the reports have been great about his ability to go in the interview room. He dazzles them with his character and intangibles. He impresses them on the board. And then you add the physical feats that he displays at the pro day. It's really hard to knock the guy.
He is by the way, the phrase all ball was made for Carson Wentz. That is all he cares about is football. He is all in.
A really good player. Coaches have really been effusive in their praise of him behind the scenes when I've talked to guys. And Jerry Goff, everyone has told me, and I'm kind of in the camp with this, he may be a better player from day one. However, Carson Wentz has the potential to surpass him in year 2, 3, and 4 because he does have physical superiority than Jared Goff, and sometimes you want to bank on that. Either way, I think both guys can be winning quarterbacks, guys that win their team, leads their team to playoff wins and potentially more. I just think it really comes down to styles and what style quarterback do you like.
One thing that I just want to just totally put to bed, and part of this is probably because of where I went to school. I started out in Northeast Louisiana, which was Division I. Then I ended up transferring down to Appalachian State.
I know you're partial.
So there was this one AA. I get this fight.
You carried the banner.
I am carrying the banner, and it drives me nuts. And I don't usually get riled up on Twitter, and I'll never get into like an emotional debate. I'm not that guy. I'm not looking to pick a fight. But it drives me nuts when people say, "Well, the level of competition." And I want to say, hold up. This is my thought. Okay, last I checked, Jerry Rice, Walter Payton, Randy Moss, Terrell Owens. I mean, I can go on and on and on and on. Kurt Warner. I mean, really? Are we really still? You don't think the guys can make that jump? It happens every year. David Johnson last year made that leap. 13 touchdowns.
It continues.
Let's put that to bed.
We continue to see that, and I think it's an easy argument for people to make. Small school, he played at a small school. However, if you're a scout and you've done your due diligence, he was a dominant player at that level. We also saw him go to the Senior Bowl and dominate against guys who are considered the best in the business. So for me, I don't have those concerns in terms of small school competition and what he was able to face and what he did against those guys. I think the bigger thing is the experience. A year and a half as a starter, how quickly can he master a playbook? But the same thing goes with Jared Goff. How quickly can he master a playbook? And the team that takes him, can they put him in a cocoon and allow him to grow into the role of being a playmaker? And I think that's the same with Jared Goff. I don't think either of these guys will succeed if they're tasked with throwing 30 more times as a rookie.
I'm with you there. All right, let's move on to the Titans, because this to me is an interesting aspect of this. All the picks they have now, they've got 6 in the top, 76, right?
Yes.
So they're loaded with picks. You see them on the board here. They can really, really do some damage in this draft, Bucky. But I want to throw out this scenario with maybe them moving back up in the draft. Let me just kick something around for you, okay? We've got, right now, because of this trade, the Rams pick 1. Cleveland picks 2, but everything I hear is Cleveland's getting out of there. They're not going to pick. They're going to bounce, and we'll get to them in a minute. But if they bounce and say the Eagles come up for the other quarterback, then you have at 3 San Diego, who I've said it makes sense for them to take Tunsil. Then I have people tell me, they might not be in on Tunsil. And you've got the Cowboys there at 4.
Yeah,
so if they go Ramsey at 3, then at pick number 4, maybe even you could even look down potentially to pick number 5. I think the Ravens would take Tunsil. That'd be the ultimate stopping point.
Right.
But the Cowboys at 4, the Jags at 5, not in the Tunsil market, you wouldn't think.
Right.
So why not the Titans then make that move from 15 back up to 4 or 5? You end up getting what I think is the best player in the draft, and you've still got a boatload of picks left over.
I think it just comes down to how much capital do you have to give up.
What do you think? I mean, we've looked down here at their picks that they have. So they've got 15, 33, 43. I don't think –
I think they have to part with one of those 2s.
One of the 2s, but not 2 of the 3. I think you part with 15. Let's say you give 15. 33 is almost like another first-round pick.
Yeah.
So if you go 15 and 33, you think that might be enough to get from 15 up to 3? You still need a little extra sugar.
I think that's enough. But do I want to give up that second first-round pick to me, which is the 33rd pick?
But you go – so now you look. You get Tunsil, and then you come back and you've still got picks 43 and 45 in the second round.
Yeah, 2 second-round.
You're getting the best player in the draft, and you're still getting picks 43 and 45. Not to mention the fact you still have next year's 1.
Man, I'm missing. I'm looking at it. They have 3
They have
second-round
3
picks.
2s.
Yeah. That's a good deal. That's a good way to look at it. That's a lot of capital.
I think they can easily get back up there for Laramie Tunsil is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, they can get back up there, but man, they can make some major moves in this.
If they just sit tight, then they get a bunch of players.
I mean,
but at 15, you're.
I want to get a tackle. I want to get
Conklin.
I guess it depends on what the room feels about Taylor Lewan playing left tackle, because if you feel like he is a guy that can be an upper echelon, a top 10 left tackle, your right tackle position is a little different depending on who is available. Like I'm keeping my eye on Conklin and Ronnie Stanley. Which one of those guys?
Yeah, Ronnie Stanley ain't making it to 50.
No, he won't be there. So then I'm looking and trying to peg who could be in play for Jack Conklin and who could be in play for Taylor Decker, because the drop-off is significant after the 4th offensive tackle goes off the board. So I have to be in a position to get one of those guys, Conklin or Taylor Decker. If I can sit at 15 and get one of those guys, I am good, because now at 33, 45, 64, we can get everybody that we want.
Yeah, and Conklin, I think, has a good shot of falling to him there. One of those, I think Conklin or Decker.
I think one of those guys
has to be there.
Because the teams in front of, the Giants could take one, but can they really take another offensive player? They've taken offensive tackles, offensive linemen.
They've been living in the offensive
year after
line.
year after year after year. I don't know if they can do that. You have New Orleans, maybe, but I don't.
The other thing is, with all these picks, if you just want to guarantee it, you probably could part with one of these 3s and get from 15, up to whatever, 11, 12, whatever.
You absolutely could get in range to get your guy. It's a shorter jump. You may not get Laramie Tunsil, but then it depends on how big is the difference between Laramie Tunsil and Jack Conklin. Do you feel like it's super significant where you need to give up those other picks, or do you feel good about Conklin being a starter?
There's so many. This is going to be – John Robinson's going to have fun, because I'm just thinking all these different scenarios. Okay, let's say if you wanted to keep these 3 2s this year. Well, next year you've got 2 1s and 2 3s. So who cares if you part with next year's 2, right?
Right.
You can recoup that easy with the other capital that you have.
Very easy.
So maybe that 15, maybe it's a 2 next year, pick 15 this year, and a couple 3s or whatever.
Yeah, like you give a 3 this year, you give a 2 next year, and you swap in the first round. That might be enough to get it done.
And you come out of this with Tunsil and 3 second-round picks.
That would be nice.
And 2 1s next year.
That would be nice.
That's going to be fun to watch. Tennessee's got a chance to do a lot of damage in this draft, Bucky. The Browns, how this affects them, I've said it. Miles Jack is who I've had them picking, And, I was told, I think I told you that before, maybe we talked about it on here, was Miles Jack and Joey Bosa were the position players that I had heard associated with the Browns. But that it was more likely they would trade out or they sit and take a position player, but probably weren't going to take a quarterback is what I was told. See Miles Jack working out here. Now it seems like, to the point now, I'll be shocked if the Browns are picking at this pick. I think they're getting out of there.
I think they're getting out. If you try and connect the dots with the entire Moneyball deal, it's about finding valuation in certain spots of the draft, be it positions, be it trade spots. I believe they trade out. They try and accumulate as many picks as they can, and then they throw enough darts at players and hope that they're able to land on some of those 50-50 balls, meaning that some of the guys that they pick in later rounds emerge as better players. Some of the guys that they peg and they view as undervalued players, they're able to get at the right spots. I believe they have to trade because this is a team that has a ton of needs, has a ton of holes at various spots in the roster. They can do more by trading out and getting more picks than taking a player at number 2.
All right, so I've been talking about maybe the Cowboys trading out or maybe Jacksonville. What if the Browns just get together with the Titans and say, just come all the way up to us? You can come all the way back up from 15 up to 3. So then they get a boatload of the picks that we just talked about. So the Browns get those picks. They pick at 15. And then at that point in time, say they take one of those tackles. And then you sit there and say, okay, wouldn't shock me at all. And the Browns turn around and put Joe Thomas on the block. And this is a full-blown rebuild.
Man, that's football. I don't know if I would trade Joe Thomas. I think I would be more apt if I'm them.
This team has had him for this long period of time. And I love Joe Thomas as a player, as a person, being around him there with that organization. But you can easily make the case we've had the best left tackle in football, and we haven't won anything. And now he's, how many more years does he want to play? Is it 3 years? Is it 5 years? Whatever. Maybe they just say, okay, we're going to spin him off, get what we get, and we have another young tackle to put in, and we're starting from scratch. We're going to be picking up in the top 2 or 3 next year. We'll get our quarterback next year, and we're just going to be plugging a bunch of holes with all these picks.
Man, that is hard to let a blue chip player go. Because in my mind, I'm envisioning you have Joe Thomas. Was it Joel Bitonio played pretty well for them.
He's a good player.
You still need to get a
Cam Irving is going to play center. They drafted him to play center.
And so now you get a right tackle. I think if you build it on your offensive line and say we're going to build our offensive line, we got Thomas, and say we have Decker or Conklin or even a Tunsil. We have 2 really, really good players on the bookends, and now we can run the football. Maybe in the second round, top of the second round, we get another playmaker.
Here's the thing.
And we build it that way.
Here's the thing. I get what you're saying. Last year, their right tackle went into free agency, this Mitchell Schwartz.
Yeah, but he wasn't very –
He played good this last year, enough to warrant a decent contract. He was one of the better right tackles last year. I know he struggled early on, but last year he actually played pretty good.
Yep.
So they had 2 pretty good tackles. Got him nothing.
But at least
I'm
they
just
have
saying.
So we're going to get rid of all the tackles and
Get rid of everybody.
And start completely
I'm just
scratch.
telling you. I'm just telling you. They're saying, okay, this is the way we've been doing it. It ain't working. I just think they could shake the whole thing up and say we are literally wiping it. We're wiping it clean, and
we're just going to rebuild it like an expansion team.
Amen.
Wow.
Don't be shocked.
It has to be hard. That's a hard sell.
All right. How about let's go before we move on now to our favorite players. Biggest winners and biggest losers here out of this trade. I'll start us off. To me, the big winners, it's obvious. It's the Titans and John Robinson and Mike Mularkey because they have all kinds of options now, and it's still within their reach to go get the player they were going to take at number 1 anyways, and Laramie Tunsil, the way we just broke it down. So I think they're in a great spot. They're going to come out of this thing with a couple first-round picks next year. They got some extra picks this year, and at the end of the day, they still have the ammunition to get the guy they ultimately wanted to take anyways.
I mean, it's a great haul for them. 6 picks in the top 76, a team that needs an extensive makeover, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. They have the ammunition to do so and still get the bookend right tackle to complement Taylor Lewan. But in this deal, I'm still going to say the LA Rams are the winner because Jeff Fisher and Les Snead get to buy a little time because they get a franchise quarterback. And if they pick the right quarterback, if they surround him and put him in the right situation and he shows promise, they get more years to be in LA to continue to rebuild this team. And at some point, they have to get over the 8-8 mark. They have to be a viable contender, even though hope springs eternal every offseason about this team. If they get the quarterback, they now can become in play and be in position to seriously compete in the NFC West. And I think that is what they want to do. And I think in a new market, sunshine, get the right kid, marketing campaign, everyone's happy.
I got a suit, Bucky, that I I bought maybe, gosh, it has to be 10 years old, right? But I like the suit. I was a little bit leaner back in the day, right? I can't get rid of the suit because I'm going to fit into that thing one day.
Yeah.
I'm going to get back in there. That's like the Rams. Every year. Every year. No, this is with 10 wins. Yeah, we're a playoff team this year. Just wait. Then they go back in the closet and shake their head and go. They try those 10 wins on. No,
not yet.
Don't fit. We'll see.
It might be the time. This is the year.
It needs to happen. All right. Biggest loser in the trade, and again, Laramie Tunsil. He could still end up being the third pick in this draft. I don't think he's going to be the first or second pick. I think if Tennessee had stuck at 1, I think he was more than likely going to be their selection. So in terms of just lost value, yeah, I mean, he's probably the biggest loser in this whole deal. Went from the number 1 pick to potentially the number 3, or could fall maybe as far as number 6. No further than that. He could end up going on a better team, and that situation will make him a winner. But just financially in the short term, I'd say he's the loser in this deal.
He could be much like Leonard Williams was last year.
Best player that fell a little bit.
Best player that falls down farther than anyone can forecast just because the needs and the available players didn't match up. For me, the biggest loser is Jalen Ramsey. And part of the reason Jalen Ramsey is the loser is because when the quarterbacks go off the board 1 and 2, I believe that he could suffer in terms of what's available. Then you have to deal with some of the other stuff, Laramie Tunsil, Joey Bosa, the teams that are top. Will they commit to taking a safety? Will they take a frontline player? I think it makes his situation a little more tenuous because now you have Tunsil in place and you have to make the debate. Do you want a franchise left tackle over a big-time safety?
It'll be interesting to see what happens with the San Diego Chargers. Do it 3? Do they go tackle? Do they go secondary? Or do they get out of there? It'll be interesting to see what they end up doing. All right, Bucky. Let's. You want to roll on favorite players by round?
Favorite players. Let's do it.
All right. This is what we're doing here. Not saying this is the best player, but just the guys we kind of think they're going to go in this round. This would be my favorite pick of that round.
Absolutely.
I'll start us off here. Round 1. I'm gonna go Ryan Kelly, center from Alabama, who I just think is ready-made. He plug-and-play starter. I think he's going to be a Pro Bowl player. I've been on record saying I think he's got a chance to be an All-Pro. You want an athletic center that can reach. He's got no issues doing that. Work up to the second level, no problem. And he can move people at the point of attack. I'm a big, big Ryan Kelly fan.
I agree. Good player. You're really high on him. You've been selling the Ryan Kelly train for a long time, and so I'm glad that you're able to commit to it, that you put your name on it, and you're good with Ryan Kelly. I am also big on a guy in the first round, and that is Jalen Ramsey. I have pushed him hard from the beginning to the end of this process. I believe he is a world-class athlete with blue-chip talent. He understands how to play the position. And I believe his boat has kind of taken on some water of late. People are pointing out the fact that he only has 3 career interceptions, didn't force a turnover in the last 17 games of his career. But to me, the tape doesn't lie. He's an impact player. He can play multiple positions. He brings the intensity. He plays with a high football IQ. In the right situation, a defensive coordinator can put him in a situation to create chaos. Because of that, I'm willing to buy on the talent and the upside.
I'm a big Jalen Ramsey fan, too. I can't complain there. He's my 3rd overall player, Bucky. Let's roll on here. Let's roll through this. Round 2, I'm going to go Devontae Booker, running back from Utah. One of my favorite players because he can do everything. He catches the ball out of the backfield. He'll run with some power. I love the way he finishes each and every run. In pass protection, I think he's competitive. That's all I want. You willing? He'll stick his face in there. He can do that. I've compared him to Tiki Barber throughout the process. I think somebody's going to get a great value for him. There's a seriousness about him when you talk to him. I dig it. I'm a fan.
No, I'm a big fan. I think he's a talented player, good runner. Put that offense on his back at Utah. Can run inside and outside. Doesn't have home run speed, but he has a craftiness about him that reminds me of Arian Foster. Love to pick. For me, in the 2nd round, Keanu Neal from Florida.
He will knock you out.
Big-time hitter. I believe football is going back to the old school where you have to have enforcers in the middle of the field. He is a big-time hitter. He changes the game. He prevents and discourages quarterbacks from throwing down the middle. And he's a much better athlete than people can imagine. He not only can play in the box, I think he has enough athleticism and range to really play in the back end. I want this kind of guy on my team.
Yeah, he is an enforcer. That's a good word for him. Nothing changes the momentum of a football game like a big hit, and he provides a lot of those. All right, round number 3, I'm going to go Sharon Peak, somebody we've talked about a lot on here from Clemson, and that's right, Bucky. I'm taking the Clemson guy, not you.
That's fine. I'm trying to.
You've been bowing down at the Clemson altar here for like the last 5 episodes, but somebody that's great after the catch. He's tough. He's physical. Very, very competitive. Reminds me of Mohamed Sanu when he's running. Man, he's just a tall, strong kid. I think he's got a chance to be a better pro than he was in college. And these Clemson wide receivers, for the most part, aside from one of them getting some trouble off the field,
they find a way.
On
the
field,
way to make it.
They make it happen.
They do make it happen. They're very, very talented players. He's another in a long line of long-rangey Tigers to make it. I am going to go off the grid.
What you got?
You're not even going to believe this. Roberto Aguayo.
Going with the kicker?
I'm going with the kicker.
I'm for that.
I'm going with the kicker. Now, part of it is because this guy is terrific at putting the ball between the uprights. But I believe with the new kickoff rules, he is going to be a sky kick specialist in terms of being able to put it in the coffin corner and change the field position game. And so we think that teams are going to elect the touchback. No. They're going to sky kick it, pop it up, allow their coverage units to come and pin people inside the 20. Roberto Aguayo's value as a directional kicker makes him valuable. He is a nice guy to look for in the third round.
Some people lost their minds on Twitter when I said it wouldn't shock me if he went in the second round.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Third round wouldn't surprise me at all. No, trust me.
Changes the game.
He's big time. All right, I'm going to go round number 4.
This is your guy.
Got to stick with my guy, man.
All these
Brandon
guys
Allen.
are your guys.
I have been riding Brandon Allen, the quarterback from Arkansas, all the way to the finish line. I know people are split on him. You know, look, earlier in his career, he struggled. Man, the guy came on path to the draft and told us a story about his car getting burned down, his car getting egged, and didn't transfer, stuck it out, ended up getting that thing kind of turned around this year. I'm a big fan of his, Buck. He's been in an NFL system. Toughness, accuracy, check. Now, he doesn't have the ideal size. Hands are a little bit small. But I love the competitiveness that he has. Watch him drop a dime right there in the corner. I think he's got a chance to eventually, in the right spot, be a solid starter in this league.
He is really good with anticipation and timing, and I believe those traits are very, very important. He's very accurate working inside the numbers. We can ding him for his hand size, but he does do a great job of getting the ball out to his playmaker.
Who you got, Buck?
I'm going to go with Thomas Duarte from UCLA. I kind of stole this guy from you, but familiar with Thomas Duarte
guy
from UCLA. He is the next hybrid tight end that can kind of take the league by storm. We've seen what Jordan Reed and some of these other guys have been able to do, guys that can line up as tight ends but really play as oversized wide receivers. Duarte is a guy that I can see being a mismatched nightmare, a guy that gives you that Jordan Reed impact. Love his hands and athleticism. He's not going to block well, but if you put him on the field, you have to recognize him as a tight end. I think he can create matchup problems. I'm going to go with him as a guy that I absolutely love in this draft.
Yeah, he's a mismatch. He can create a lot of separation there at the top of his route. I'm with you on that one, Bucky. Let's go round number 5, and I'm going to go off the grid a little bit here. Kevin Byard, who's somebody, the more that I watch him, the more that I appreciated just his ball skills in the middle of the field. Not from a powerhouse program, okay, but he's somebody that when you study him, you see everything that you want to see. I believe it was Alabama was the first tape that I popped on with him in the middle of the field making all kinds of plays. You see him there from Middle Tennessee. Look at the numbers there. I love that production.
Love the production. Production translates. 19 interceptions, 15 PBUs, 2 touchdown returns in his career. Love having guys that are around the ball. I want ball hawks on my team. I like that pick. That's not a bad pick.
Yeah, going off the grid a little bit here. What do you got, Buck?
I'm going to go with our guy that was on the 360 series last week. How about Daniel Braverman?
Oh, here we
How
go.
about that? I put him up. Then I put him up high enough.
He has
so
some swagger to him when he came on.
He does have a lot of confidence. I love what he talked about in terms of his ability to run after the catch, how he studies the greats, makes plays with the ball in his hands, and he's a crafty route runner. There's always a place in the league for guys who understand how to get open. He works the soft spots of zone defenses better than anybody else in the draft.
I thought it was impressive when he came on. You know, look, a lot of these guys, college players, they don't watch a lot of NFL football. Every player that we asked him about, he knew something about him. He was even reciting plays for some of these guys. He's all in.
He's all in. He had a nice catalog. I like the way he approached the game.
All right, let's keep it rolling here. Round number 6. I'm going again. I'm going away from Division I. I'm like the anti-D1 guy. I'm going to go to Montana, Tyrone Holmes. And this is an edge rusher, Bucky, that can win with power, and he wins with effort. He's somebody that I think is going to, find his way into this area. I have him here in round number 6. He's going to make your football team year 1, probably going to cover some kicks, maybe get in on some of your sub-packages, and I think this is a guy year 2, year 3 down the line, you're going to really like what you have.
I've always heard sacks translates to pro production, and when you look at his history, 18 sacks, the leader in FCS. Look, you can see all that.
The artist formerly known as Division I AA.
That's right. I'm going to go round 6. I'm going to go to a guy that also shined at that level, but then made the big jump to go to Oregon. How about Vernon Adams?
DA.
Vernon Adams in the 6th round, to me, is a guy that is going to find a way to have success. No, he doesn't have the prototypical dimensions, but we saw him at the East-West game light it up with his accuracy, his ball placement, his timing and touch. Not necessarily a guy that is going to kill you with his legs, but he does have enough athleticism to buy time. I'm just a believer in the winning aspect and the intangibles. I think he finds a way to carve out a nice career in the league.
I think he's going to be a really good backup at that point in the draft. That's a really good pick, Bucky. You ever watch infomercials?
I have watched infomercials.
You're getting ready to see one here. my 7th round ideal player is Moritz Boehringer, who is our German wide receiver friend.
Yeah, we had him on
that came in, sat right next to you here on our podcast, which, by the way, I think it had almost like 180,000 views already with our interview. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. Move the Sticks 360 series. You can find it on YouTube. You'll enjoy it. This guy, look at these highlights. I could watch him over and over again. Yeah, maybe he's playing against junior hires there in Germany, but you see somebody that is big, fast, explosive, and tough. Look, it's going to be a long process, but at this point in the draft, round number 7, I want to take a fun project, and I'm going to go with Moritz Boehringer.
Well, he's a project.
Or Mobo, as we call him now.
Mobo. I like that nickname. He is a guy that certainly needs some time to get acclimated to the league, but I like the physical dimensions. What he put down in his pro day, you can't dispute.
Numbers are numbers.
Those are big-time athletic numbers. I want to build around it, and I want to be patient enough to allow him to develop. He's a really good player. I'm glad we had a chance to hear his story on the 360 series.
By the way, I am realizing that German university football, very similar to private school San Diego football that I played. Yes.
Oh, yeah?
Not a lot of tans on that field there. Boehringer is rolling right there.
Yeah, he is rolling. I noticed that the safety's not in the middle of the field often either.
Don't worry about that. We split safety, you know?
Yeah, they leave it open. I'm going to go in the 7th round with a guy that played at Cal that is really underrated, but I think is a really good player. How about Bryce Treggs? Bryce Treggs lit up the pro day, ran 4 threes at the pro day. Really good route runner. He's a local kid from the L.A. area, played at St. John's Bosco, very familiar with him. I've had coaches call me and ask about him, and they talk about the hands, the explosiveness. As a guy that could be that 7th round priority free agent, don't be surprised if Bryce Treggs carves out a little role for a team as a 4th receiver.
I like that, Bucky. As we kind of wrap this segment up here, I don't know if I told you this story before. One of my proudest moments talking about that little private school, high school league that I played in growing up. I wore sleeves all the way down, and so we ran the ball a lot. So I was getting recruiting letters to Darnell Jeremiah. Awesome. It was like the greatest compliment ever.
Okay, man. Darnell, really athletic.
Yeah, Darnell.
Really athletic. We want you to run the option.
It's got to be a Darnell. Fantastic. All right, that's our favorite players by round, Bucky. And now let's roll into your latest mock draft. By the way, God's honest truth, I haven't even seen this thing yet. So just kind of highlight some of the sweet spots of this mock draft here. I guess we'll take a look at it here.
This is version 6.0. I got the call right after the big trade went down, and so we'll go through it. At 1, we have Carson Wentz, Laremy Tunsil at 2, DeForest Buckner, a bit of a surprise at 3, Joey Bosa 4, Jalen Ramsey at 5 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Myles Jack goes to the Ravens. Ronnie Stanley to the Niners. Jared Goff to the Eagles. Shaq Lawson creeps in my top 10 to the Bucks. And Kevin Dodd, another Clemson.
All right, I like what you're doing. I'm going to pick out a couple here, 11 through 20. Looks like here, Ashawn Robinson. Look, Detroit does need a defensive tackle. They go ahead and take care of that. Ezekiel Elliott to the Dolphins. That's a huge get for them. Paxton Lynch to the Jets. Man, maybe Fitz ought to go ahead and sign that contract.
He needs to quickly sign the contract.
All right, let's move through. What else we got here? 21 through 20. Laquan Treadwell. I kind of like that to the Redskins.
Big body, catch the ball.
Okay.
Will Fuller at 22. How about Josh Dotson going to the Cincinnati Bengals at 24? And Noah Spence at 26 to the Seattle Seahawks.
Noah Spence. So a little off the field Noah Spence. Didn't they? Yeah. Frank Clark come back?
We're okay with that.
I'm afraid to roll the dice a little bit. All right, now we go the end here. Ragland to Green Bay. That's a great fit. Of course you're going to get Ogba in there. You've been on the Ogba Express.
And you've been on the Chris Jones.
I have been on the
So I took Chris Jones from you, and I plugged him in with the Denver Broncos. They don't have a quarterback, but they have a really good defense.
How many more mocks are you doing, man?
I'm hoping I'm down to the end. But we have a couple more weeks. And then, after the draft is you have to have the first one out for next year.
Oh, yeah, I don't sign up for that.
Yeah.
I remember because we don't talk about underclassmen here. So on Path to the Draft, like one of my first years here, they're like, you got to do a mock draft the next year with just seniors. I'm like, I can't even name 32 seniors. I'm supposed to come up with a mock draft. Anyways, look, we're nearing the end here. Mock drafts, as we explain all the time. Our top 50 list, what we see, what we think of guys. Mock drafts, what we're hearing, playing with different scenarios. It's okay. Calm down.
Don't get mad.
It's fun. Look, I give mock drafts a hard time, but I don't mind them. All right, our Red Star prospects of the week, Bucky. We've been trying to do this for a while, but we've had so much craziness with all this news going on, we haven't been able to get to it, and we're going to finally get to these corners here. And I believe you're up first here for your Red Star corner. Explain again to those that haven't seen it before what the Red Star means.
A Red Star corner is a guy that I'm absolutely willing to stand on a table to endorse. Meaning that I believe that this guy is going to find a way to have success in the league. He's going to be a big-time player. Regardless of what round he goes, he's going to be a standout player. So
let it rip.
My Red Star prospect of the week as cornerback is Artie Burns from Miami. Now, he's another guy that I've talked about extensively. What I like about him, explosive speed and quickness. Outstanding ball skills, sticky hands, had 6 interceptions last season. Instincts are not quite refined. He's a little raw as a player. But in my mind, I think he's a fluid athlete. He's a guy that was a standout 110-meter hurdler when he was in high school. Also was on the track and field team at Miami. I like all that athleticism combined with the size, 6 foot, 193. He has an opportunity to be a really, really good player at the next level.
Yeah, look, he's big corner. He can really play the football up in the air. There's some stuff in the run game I like to see him be a little bit more physical. I don't need corners to be, the most aggressive, nastiest guy in the football field, but let's not get thrown on the ground by these little wide receivers.
Oh, no, he has to be able to put his face in the fan. He has to go and become a better tackler. But in terms of just the raw athleticism and skills, I'm willing to buy into. And when I look at him, he really reminds me a lot of Sam Shields when he came out of Miami years ago. A guy that was raw, he was unrefined. He needed some time to kind of acclimate to the pro game. But when he finally figured it out, he's become a Pro Bowl player. I see similar traits in Artie Burns. I believe he can be a guy that is one of the best at a position in time.
I remember Sam Shields coming out. There's a lot of people questioning what he was going to be at the next level. Really kind of self-made once he got to the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
I mean, look, very talented. You knew he had the athletic ability, but he has gotten a lot better from a technical standpoint.
And I think in the right situation, I think Artie Burns can also do the same.
All right, I got mine up next here. I'm going to go William Jackson III from Houston. This is, again, somebody that I've been on kind of throughout the process here. I think I have him sitting right there on the edge of the first round. He is going to – I firmly believe he's going to go in the first round, but he's right at around like my 30th player. You see what I like about him here? Look, the speed, I know he ran a blazing fast 40 time. I didn't think he quite played to that speed, but he had outstanding ball skills, instincts, and then you see the fluidity there, a little bit tight, but somebody that I'm going to use up and press, I don't worry about that. Somebody that, look, I want somebody – that's very, very instinctive and can make plays on the football, and that's what he gives you. He gets the football, changes field position, gives you extra possessions. There's a lot of value there. Just go watch him against Florida State, Bucky. I believe you were at that game to see his playmaking there. In terms of a toughness and a tackling standpoint, he's fine. Again, I think he's a little bit better than Artie in that area. Not the toughest corner in the draft, but he gets the job done.
The main thing at corner, he can't be a coward. He has to be willing to just come up there, throw his body around, get guys down. I don't need him to be the biggest hitter. He doesn't need to be the most violent striker. He just has to be able to get guys on the ground. If he can commit to getting people on the ground with his athleticism and ball skills, he should be an excellent player to lead.
Remember in the draft room, did you ever hear anybody say this guy was a triple C?
No.
Card-carrying coward?
Wow.
Used to get hit with that. You don't want to get hit with that.
You don't want to have all the C's.
Neither one of these guys fit that description. But for my comparison for him, Bucky, Bashad Breeland, who a player that you remember. Again, I'm kind of all over.
You're all over Clemson now. Today is your day.
It's my turn to be a Clemson guy.
Tiger.
But I was a big fan. Yeah, same type of a guy.
Same type of guy. Jumped in, had an opportunity to play for the Redskins, get in the lineup, made some plays. You can get excited about his potential. Look, I can see that. I buy into the comparison. Really good player.
Yeah, and Bashad Breeland kind of made his name, his reputation at the NFL level for one game against Des Bryant was really, really competitive against him. And I think you're going to see that same type of competitiveness there from William Jackson.
I'm willing to buy in. I like both of these players. Both of these players, to me, are guys that we'll talk about for a long time in the league.
You getting ready for this draft?
We are getting ready. We're down to 10 days?
I don't know. I just know I got a lot of defensive linemen to watch tonight. I'm powering through trying to finish them all up. I think I got some DTs.
How about
so many defensive tackles. I feel like I've watched a billion of them. I still got some more to watch.
Meanwhile, I'm trying to put together this top 150 list, which is a daunting task.
That's the Lord's work right there.
150 guys on the draft board.
You see here on the bottom of the screen where you can check everything we're doing here. The Move the 6 360 series. Yeah, I guess I can just point down.
Yep.
Lower. Okay. The 360 series. We've had a lot of the best players this entire draft class come in our studio, sit right here. We've shown them tape. Bucky's broken their tape down in front of them, see what their reaction would be. And then we've actually had them watch a lot of NFL tape and break down what they see in some of the top players of their position.
It's been a lot of fun getting to know these players, getting to know some of the top prospects, hearing them, kind of providing us a little glimpse, a little peek at what their insight is and where they could be in a few years.
And we appreciate you guys checking that out. The numbers have been great. The feedback's been outstanding. So keep spreading the word. And we still got a couple more visitors coming in this week, so be on the lookout for that. You can check those all out at YouTube as well as NFL.com/MoveTheSticks360. All right, Bucky, that's going to do it for us today. We'll be back maybe later this week or maybe next week. I don't know. We'll be in Chicago soon. The draft is almost here. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.
Thanks for downloading Move the Sticks with Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks. For more, go to NFL.com/podcasts.